All right, folks, so this is a bit of a review of the Rust-Oleum Topside Marine Coatings paint. I noticed on YouTube there's really not a whole lot of information about this paint in terms of application, etc. There's a little bit, but really not a lot in terms of its performance. Now, having used a bunch of the, where is it here? The Petite Easy Epoxy stuff, that's the performance enhancer there, but I've used Easy Tex for filling in spaces or doing some repair in fiberglass. And then I used to use Petite Easy Epoxy the 2-part polyurethane in order to do all of my coloring on any boat that I was either repairing or restoring or whatnot. This is my 15-foot Key West that I'm just working on. You can see the nice color. This is after one coat. I guess I'm just about here on the nose, putting the second coat on the bow there. So I'm getting there. Coverage is pretty good. You'll notice that is not a standard topside color, but I will get to that in a second. I managed to tint it fairly easily to get the exact color that I was looking for. Anyway, more on that in a second. If this is of interest, this is a 1976 Bowler camper made in Canada that I restored over the last several years. And it was done top and bottom now with Easy Epoxy, the Petite product. Went on really well, loved the paint, it's excellent. Really nothing bad to say about it, except that it is, in some ways, definitely more expensive. So for this particular round with the boat, I decided to try a different product just to see how it would perform. People said all sorts of wonderful things about it. And I thought, well, let's give it a try instead of always going with the Petite product. So here we go. I'll paint a little bit in a second here just to show you what I'm doing. I'm trying to do this very, very simply. The idea is I'm not going crazy on prep. I'm not going crazy on, being super accurate with my application. I'm just trying to do a regular garage job, okay? So nothing crazy. But so far, I'm really happy with the finish. But before we do that, let's talk about this tint situation. So I didn't like the colors that it came in, but what I ended up doing is just buying white. You can see that's one white, and found this stuff. Mixol. It's a German product. It's basically very high pigmentation. I believe it's a tint for, well, they say for basically any kind of paint, but when I looked it up, it seemed that they advertised it very much as being compatible with alkyds, which this paint definitely is. So I thought, let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. I wanted a nice light green. I didn't know, you can see this is olive green, kind of a nice gray olive green, kind of hard to see on the camera here, but an olive green kind of color. There it is, number 15, olive green. And in a quart of white, I didn't know how much I'd need to add in order to get the color I was looking for. So I added the whole thing. A little bit at a time, didn't really make much of a difference. And then I just kept adding and adding until I basically ran out. So be easy to match if this works out. Basically 1 quart to 1 container and away we go. Now what the color actually looks like is here. And if I go like this, you can see my tape still on, but that's basically what the color looks like. A really lovely color. I think that's quite nice. In terms of surface prep, I've been working on this boat a little while. I've done a lot of sanding, filling, to get the surface prep just right. There we go, there's a good color shot here. That's pretty accurate to what the color actually is. And essentially, you can see here I've got 1 coat where it becomes 2 coats, just to get an idea of the coverage. Overall, I'm finding that as it dries, it actually blends in. I'm just using a 4-inch roller, foam roller. It's always worked for me in the past with the Petite products, so I keep working with it now. However, it is actually applying much better than expected, and I don't see myself needing to use a brush in order to do the tipping component, and I'll show you that in a second. All right, continuing on from here, essentially I've just got it in a tray. I've not thinned this, but I definitely have changed the color by using that Mixol product. So here we go, very light. I did not go heavy on this, right? You can see it's fairly light. I basically am just touching in here, rolling it up the edge, kind of mixing it up so that it's basically even on the paint roller. And here we go. You can see, I don't know how well you're gonna see this, but you can see how patchy it is after my first coat. I'm going light on these coats, and I'm hoping to catch a reflection so you can see what's really going on. So as I do this, okay, so here we go, putting it on. You can see there's lots of bubbles. I'm not gonna concern myself with that. You can see it's kind of like, see all these bubbles? That's pretty terrible, right? And typically, you'd be working with this in probably warmer temperatures than I am. I'm up here in Canada and it's May, so the temperature is a balmy 17 Celsius today, which is a fantastic day for May. So here we go, there we go, good enough. Just gonna do some coverage here just so you can see. I'm not gonna be super precise for this video here because I'm doing this awkwardly with one hand. But what I wanted to show you is as you go along here with a single application, you get all of these bubbles. Hopefully you can see that. Excuse me. But the trick is, what I found is if you've got a fairly dry brush, just wait a second. If you wait a few seconds, give it a little bit of time to kind of set up a little, and then retouch it very, 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 as lightly as you can. And what I've noticed is it basically does the job of tipping. Used to do, you know, roll and tip with all those other two-part polyurethanes, etc. I use a lot of different paints. But for a kind of quick and dirty job here, if you just very lightly touch it and go slowly, I don't know how much you can see that, but all these little bubbles are popping and not coming back. Hopefully you can see that. Again, not sure how useful this is to you, but in terms of painting a boat quickly, I mean, I'm very pleased with the overall look. Of course, this is gonna suck here a little bit because I'm not going in both directions as I normally would because I don't have a free hand at the moment. But basically, as you go over it, give it a minute to breathe, and then when you go over extremely lightly, for some reason I can't get that part to go, you can kind of just pop those bubbles. And I kind of go over it once it's a little dry. See how that just disappears? So here's a good chunk of bubbles. Come over it after it's had a chance, and look, gone, just like that. So if I back up a little, you can see it gets very glossy as it dries. So though there's a little bit of like orange peeling here at the moment, that'll disappear by the time it gets more congealed or a little bit drier like it is over there. So I'm really not concerned. Now it is only about 17 out in the sun, so it's probably more like 10 or 12 degrees Celsius, which is basically the minimum for this paint in here in the garage. But I wanted to show you this because actually that goes on very, very well. And look at the nice finish. That is pretty decent. A really nice color. And I guess I'll update this video hopefully in a little while, maybe, oh, I don't know, a couple of months after I've used this boat a bunch to see what the durability is like. Maybe the Mixol has affected the durability, but I sort of suspect not because it's chemically inert. So I would suspect that this is going to be just fine. And this is just 2 coats, and I might actually stop at 2 coats. Given it's a light color on a light color, I don't really think I need to go much deeper than 2 coats, so I might stop there and see what happens. Anyways, hope somebody finds this useful. Ask questions if you want in the comments, and I will try to respond as best I can. Thanks. All right, folks, here we are 24 hours later after the second coat. I did 2 coats, and then I touched up a couple of really small spots, maybe a couple of square feet kind of thing. Today I pulled it out of the garage into the sunlight here so we could really see it. This side's shady, you'll see it sunny on the other side. But to give you an idea what coverage is like, I mean, I'm right up close to it here. I don't know what you see on the camera, but as far as I can tell, 2 coats was enough. Coverage was excellent. I'm kind of impressed. My masking kind of goofed a little bit here. I got to sand a little bit of that off once it's hard, but pretty nice, I would have to say. I put some new decals on, redid some pinstriping, make it look nice, and I'm impressed. I will be using this product again. I mean, we'll see about longevity here, but overall, I'm pretty impressed with it. Nothing much to complain about. Let's go see on the harsh sunny side where you really don't get away with any imperfections. This is not a paint situation, that's actually just reflection from the trolling motor. If we go like this, there it is in the bright sunshine. I mean, the finish is pretty decent. I can see still a little bit of orange peeling, and that would be, I could easily, given that it's only 2 coats, I could easily sand that off with say an 800 and then do another coat maybe in warmer weather to get it to smoothen out. For example here, see how there's just that little wee bit? It looks worse in the camera here. I'm just gonna leave it because to my eye, perfectly adequate. I really have absolutely no reservation saying this paint definitely did the job. You know, for, what was it, $65 a quart, I think it was, Canadian. I don't know what that is in Yankee bucks, but whatever it is. Pretty good. And this coverage here, 2 coats on a 15.5 foot boat for pretty good coverage, was 1/2 of a quart. I went sparingly on the thickness of the layers just to make sure it would last, and people said thin coats. So I did 2 thin coats, and I'm gonna stop because it's perfectly adequate. 3 might be good, but 2 seems plenty. Okay, hope this helps somebody, and have fun out there.